Okay, here's the second video. Here's the introduction to this paper. We're talking about how adults diagnosed with autism spectrum conditions are not getting the help that they need, and so we struggle, especially if we don't have supportive families and people in my age group, 40s, 50s, 60s, and up. We didn't have, it was pretty rare that we were assessed in school, and only until recently did the professionals accept that females, women, girls could actually be on the autism spectrum. They only accepted the boys, and it was the same thing with ADHD. Um, they said the majority of the people that had ADHD or ADD were boys, men, and that's simply not true, as we all know now. My back hurts because I have to keep changing my position here. So it's saying that adults diagnosed with autism are at high risk of co-occurring mental health conditions, which of course that makes complete sense, because when you're not supported and you don't get the help help that you need, um, you start thinking in unhelpful ways, and then the thinking pattern gets to be unhelpful, and then it becomes a habit. So say, and I do this too. I I generalize, and then I just okay, like I have black and white thinking, for instance. I think I'll be having a bad day, and then I'll be thinking it's always like this, or and then if I'm tired or whatever, hungry, then I won't challenge my thinking uh, pattern. I won't. I would just, it's like a spiral of going down and down to even darker thoughts. So, but on a good day, I can say, "Oh, come on, Trish, that's not true." um, so they're also at high risk of I don't know how to say this because YouTube won't let me say this word. Okay, so self-injury and unaliving themselves. And this study was done in 2018. And then other people did one in 2016. However, mental health, self-injury, and unaliving in autism are poorly understood and under-researched because we don't think like the typical neurotypical person. we they have to approach us in a different way because it gets tricky. um Let me see, where was I? And there's a shortage of professionals, which I was saying in the other video, that are trained in both autism and mental health. That's such a problem because when you go to therapists who don't understand autism and aren't neurodivergent themselves, they they have a negative response, and then they'll start thinking, I don't know, I'm just assuming what they're thinking because of their response to me in the past, and that just wasn't helpful what they were trying to do. So I just gave up. I didn't want to continue on. Why continue on and pay all this money when you're not being helped? And even not only that, you're being injured mentally because it affects your self worth and your self respect, and you become frustrated. You become, if you don't know that you have autism, like I didn't know I had autism, and I kind of knew that I had ADHD. Um, my hair's coming out. But I was never diagnosed. But anyways, so the therapists are trying to help you, but they're not given the whole, if you're missing a vital piece of information about the person, then how are they going to be help how are they going to be able to help you? So anyways, let me get on with this. Given that autistic adults without intellectual disability, ID, are at higher are at the highest risk of contemplating unaliving themselves, which is 66%, and dying by unaliving themselves. The current study focuses on autistic adults without co occurring intellectual disability. Henceforth, autistic adults. Lack of support for autistic adults has been associated with increased risk of depression and suicidality. Oh, I said the word, sorry. Hopefully they'll let me say it. Um, Autistic adults also report a significantly higher number of unmet support needs than the general population. Of course, autistic adults and children struggle to obtain appropriate support post diagnosis. So what's the point in getting diagnosed? That's my thought. If it's just going to be worse for you when after you get diagnosed, why even get diagnosed? And then spend all that money. Yeah. I can be very cynical and sarcastic. Sorry. So, and autistic young adults who are 16 through 25 years face challenges in assessing appropriate treatment for mental health problems. Hence, despite autistic people being at significantly increased risk of mental health problems and unaliving themselves than the general population, they appear to be less likely to be able to access support and treatment for these difficulties. Reason for this lack of treatment and support are likely complex. First, mental health professionals and psychiatrists are generally not trained in recognizing and understanding ASC, autism spectrum. I don't know what C means. Meaning services are unprepared to adapt support and treatment to this group. Second, there are a lack of appropriate validated assessments to effectively identify mental health problems such as depression and unaliving themselves in autistic adults. Third, there is a lack of appropriate adapted psychological therapies for autistic people because they're just not interested in it. Until we have more neurodivergent people who represent us in the mental health field, because they're neurodivergent, so they're motivated to help people like themselves. Um, I don't know. Well, I think I find it very um, admirable. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. When you can go through school and you're able to become a mental health professional when you are also neurodivergent. And there's a few, I mean, it's increasing, thank God, but there's still not enough. Let's see. I wish they they would they would advocate for free tests because they know that it's hard for us to stay employed because we have so many different problems that are under the radar. Okay, so continuing on. Um, I think I already said that. Okay. These challenges are likely greater for autistic adults without intellectual disabilities, commonly referred to as Asperger's syndrome in ICD 10. So over in Europe, they still call it Asperger's. Don't ask me why. But subsumed into autism spectrum disorder in Diagnostic and Standard and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, American Psychiatric Association, which I think is a total and complete scam. The American Psychiatric Association, because they're tied in with the pharmaceutical industry, and we all know how wonderful they are. Bunch of money grubbing. So, um, they are compared to other autism subtypes, experience greater delay in diagnosis because we appear normal or neurotypical. And I'm not saying normal as in, I'm saying normal as in the general population, not normal as in, oh, there's something wrong with you, because we are a smaller section of the population, right?